Hello everybody, exciting news. We're launching a new online masters in audio post-production for film and television. It starts this September. The course is designed to prepare students for careers in the audio post industry or to upgrade careers for people like many of you who are already working there. So why have we decided to look at audio post-production? Well, for some time we've had a course which is sound design for video games, which complements our composing for video games course. And audio post-production MA really sort of completes the picture and it complements our composition for film and television courses with an audio post course as well. And the reason there is so much crossover between sound design and music is, what do you do when you're writing a piece of music? You're using digital audio tools to create something, and that is what you really love, the creativity plus the technology. Audio post is very similar, except you're telling stories with sound rather than music. Like all our courses, it's taught by top working current professionals, not academics, and we're going to meet some of those people in a minute. If you'd like to find out more about the Audio Post MA or any of our other postgraduate courses, why don't you join me on July the 19th, which is our open day. Now, you can register, there's a link under this. If by any chance you're watching this video after July the 19th, oh yes you are, there'll be a link underneath this which will take you to a recording of that event. So without further ado, I hope we'll be able to see you at the event and we can explain a whole lot more about our amazing flexible schedules where you can change schedule from part-time to full-time each term, our very low commitment, financial commitment, the timing, all that kind of stuff, all the stuff which you'd want to know about, we'll be talking about on July the 19th. But first of all, why don't we meet some of the people who are going to be teaching on our audio post course. Let's meet them.
I tend to look at sound design as a way of solving problems. Yeah. And I think sound is that thing that a lot of people don't realise how important it is.
Working in audio post has been exciting. I get to work with so many different people across so many different sound roles. No day is ever the same.
Our primary use for filmmakers are that we're problem solvers. People turn to you because they know that not just that they can trust you, but that you can help them figure stuff out.
I treat sound design as a painting. You know, when you get a blank canvas, you decide first of all, what coat you're going to put down as a base layer. That base layer to me translates into ambient sound.
Well, I'm lucky enough to wear many hats. I do sound design, but I also record voices, I direct voices, I edit, I mix. Ultimately, it's creative.
A client can have been working on a TV show or a film for 2-3+ years. And this is the last stage where all of their hard work comes together.
So those are just some of the people who contributed to our audio post-production course. But what's it actually like to do for yourself? That's what we want you to find out. So let's talk about what's actually in the course, or I should say courses, because although there's one MA in audio post-production, we also have two MFAs, which are combinations of audio post-production with other subjects. But we'll come on to that in a minute. Yeah. Let's talk about the audio post-production course first of all. What's the first thing they're going to learn when they come through the door?
The first module is Foundations of Audio Post-Production. That is a technology primer and introduction to the world of audio post. Not everyone's going to be coming into the course at the same level, so we aim to level the playing field with this first module, show you how Pro Tools is different for audio post versus other tools you may be familiar with, teach you about how to do a very, very basic mix without going into too much detail for later modules. We talk to you about the industry, the different roles that are available, all of the different considerations that you need to be aware of. We tell you how to build a standardized template. Yep. Where technology is, where it's going, things like that. Just everything about it.
Okay, module 2, what do we do there?
So as I mentioned, covering everything is very important, and that's where we cover Sound Design 1, which is the real world, where we introduce you to some of the things we've already mentioned.
That's the creative bit,
basically. Yeah, absolutely.
Making sounds.
Yeah. So foley, sound design, creating atmospheres, all of those sorts of things. An introduction to dialogue editing as well,
Right.
and light ADR. It's all of the sound elements that you need to know to get up and running. Go into module 2.
Right. Atmos 5.1.
Yeah, so that's covered in our third module, which
Right.
is mixing and delivery.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one that's where we go into more depth about what the dubbing or re-recording mixer is actually responsible for and how that all comes together. And we go into a bit more detail on things like actually making sure that everything conforms correctly, putting in the music along with everything else. Because what you would be doing as a sound designer is making sure you cover everything in case it's needed. But when you get into the mix, oftentimes things disappear because the levels of importance depending on the scene and the director's notes will change. And those are the sorts of things that we go into more depth in module 3.
Okay. 1 is the technology, 2 is the creative side of how you do it, and 3 is the mix.
Putting it all together.
So there's a kind of little mini course there altogether.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so what happens in 4, 5 and 6?
So 4 is our research module, which is honestly one of my favourite modules in any of our degree courses because it allows you to really deep dive into the things that you really love and understand how they work, how they tick, and then also to experience things you've maybe never seen before and really broaden your horizons.
So it's being reflective and analytical, thinking analytically, watching film and television and listening to film and television and working out the role of the sound and how, so it is a more academic module and there's more written work to do, but it's also, without that level of thought, you won't be good at the practical stuff, because unless you're able to support the practical stuff with really good ideas, and those good ideas come from studying what other people have done.
Yeah, I did one of our MA degree courses. I did professional media composition, and to this day I still believe that one of the most valuable modules I ever did was our research module, because it, as you said, it puts everything into context. I can now look at something and go, I think I know how this works because I've had experience in analysing things and figuring out how they tick. And you carry that forwards into everything you do.
So that's 4. What about 5?
5 is our dedicated dialogue and ADR module.
Right.
Because the dialogue editor is really important. You might just think, you just cut that up, top and tail it, there's a dialogue, nice and easy, do some noise removal, I'm done. It's not that easy. And there's a lot more to it. It's a real art to be able to craft dialogue, especially cleaning up really bad production audio when you don't have an option. There is more you need to do than just those sort of basic tools.
Right.
Not only that, but ADR is a massive part of it as well.
Automatic dialogue replacement.
That's it, yes. So when you've got lines that need to be replaced, when you've got, again, bad audio that you can fix in post by getting the actor in and recording that in a studio environment, it's not just doing all of those things, it's also perhaps sometimes changing performance and learning how to reintegrate that into a scene as well to match the original production audio to make it seamless. It's also how to record that as well.
There's a lot of work in dialogue editing as well, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a big sort of little mini industry of itself.
Yeah, it straddles audio post as well, because you've also got dialogue editing for games as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just audio post production for linear media, you've also got dialogue editing as a whole, which can...
Module 6.
Yeah, module 6. That's our sound design 2 module, which is, as you can tell by us being in space.
We're in space!
One of my favourite ones because it deals with the imaginary. While the first sound design module was very creative, it's replicating the real world. You've got to be quite literal sometimes with the things you do there. This is, okay, the world is your oyster. Your imagination is the limit. So, how does a T-Rex sound to you compared to someone else? How does this spaceship sound to you? It really allows you to push the boundaries of your creativity, and hopefully you get to put into practice everything you've learned in that module.
There's 2 sound design modules. The first one is reproducing the real world, and the second one is creating sound for imaginary
like
worlds.
core skills, and then core skills on steroids.
Okay, got it. Okay, right. Third part of the course is the final major project.
That's it.
What does that involve?
So you may be required to be a one-stop shop for all of these sort of professional skills, and this is where we put that to the test. So you'll be given a large body of work, whether it could be a couple of shorter projects, it could be a long form piece of media, but you will be responsible for doing the dialogue edit, any of the dialogue editing that's required, any ADR editing and processing that's involved in that as well, ambience creation and implementation, foley, sound design, and then music implementation. Or music composition, if that's something that you want to include in that as well, and then the mix.
So you'll come out with a complete set of skills, the kind of thing which people would expect a junior sound designer to be able to walk in the door and be able to do.
Absolutely. In theory, you could go to any director and go, I can do your sound.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Good. Now, suppose people want to combine sound design with writing music, for example.
Yes, yeah.
You already mentioned professional media composition, which is one of our master's courses for composers. The MFA is essentially 2 MAs sort of brought together. So it's a long, whereas the MA is a 12-month course, the MFA is like a 2-year course.
Sure.
It's 240 credits opposed to 180. So you've got modules from audio post-production and modules from professional media composition together.
That's right. So you'll have core modules from both MAs. So for audio post-production, that's the first 3 that we discussed.
Yep.
You'll also get the core 3 from any of the other MFA combinations that we have. So professional media composition, you'd have 3 from there.
Yep.
And then you'd have 2 electives, which take from both courses.
Right,
so you can choose to specialise. Exactly.
Which way you want to go.
Yeah,
and then a final major project, presumably, which brings it all together.
Yeah, and then a research module in the middle somewhere there as well.
Right, okay. And the other MFA path we have at the moment is going to be combining sound design for games with sound design for film and television. Because sound design in what way is sound design for games different?
So, sound design for games, for example, Foley is one of the key standout differences. Foley for linear media is often performed. It is an art in and of itself, and you are almost always expected to deliver that kind of Foley for those productions. In games, not so much.
Right.
So you'll be relying on libraries for Foley within games often. So there are differences in approach to things like that.
There's also all the middleware, and I mean, in games they are essentially, whereas film and television is linear media where the film will never change. Games, every time you play it, it's different. So you're creating interactive audio and learning how to implement that in Unity or Unreal using middleware like Wise and Fmod and things like that.
Yeah, audio post-production allows you to create ambiences and Foley aspects and spot effects and all those sorts of things, but the game sound aspect of that then further allows you to break down what you've created there and make it able to evolve depending on player choice.
So although there's quite a lot of overlap, because obviously the creative element of sound design is going to be relatively similar on both sides of the fence, the actual technical way in which it's implemented in film and television is completely different to the way. And if you come out of the MFA having covered both sides, yet again you've got multiple income streams, which in the creative, in a rapidly evolving creative industries, is a vitally important thing to have.
Diversifying income is invaluable.
Yeah, 100%. So whether that be composer and sound designer, or game sound designer and audio post for film and television sound designer, the MFAs are there to help you diversify your income. Now, any job in the creative industry is going to be competitive. But there are an awful lot of people working in audio post-production, so there's quite a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, sound teams are very large. More often than not, you will be one of many people working on things. There might even be, there could be a dozen sound designers depending on the scale of the budget. Or you could be one sound designer expected to do everything. There's, maybe different dialogue editors all working together in concert, all responsible for different parts of the media, whether it's film, TV, whatever it happens to be.
Certainly since the pandemic, there's been more and more remote working. Most of the sound designers I work with on animation are working remotely. They're working from home. So from a career point of view, that's a completely viable option.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, historically, what you'd have runners running tapes and things across places in like busy urban situations, and then you'd go and sit on certain mixes and things, and then there could be an opportunity, and you'd work your way up through stuff like that. But yeah, in recent years, with the advent of the internet, really being able to send massive files everywhere, those sorts of roles kind of disappear. And what you essentially get is, a much more distributed workforce. And the pandemic just highlighted that we don't need to necessarily be in the same space to do the work together.
So we're looking for people who have a passion and a real curiosity about how sound works in the media. They don't need to have done sound design before. No. They need reasonable familiarity with how digital audio and a DAW works.
Yes, yeah. We don't necessarily require full Pro Tools literacy. You don't have to do any of the Avid 101 courses or anything like that. But you need to be proficient with a DAW.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can take our free Pro Tools primer, which shows you the differences between Pro Tools and where things would be and where you expect them to be, and the things that are different. And things that are specific to audio post-production workflows.
Right. So people need to come with a reasonable knowledge of how to work in any DAW, so that they've got sort of the basic idea of how, and then we'll take it.
Take it from there.
We'll take it.
Yeah, basically.
Good. Well, that's a quick whistle-stop tour of what audio post-production in its many and various guises has to offer. I really hope that you can see how passionate we are about this, excited about this, because it's such an incredible creative world. So if you'd like to find out more, then all the details are underneath this video. Thanks very much indeed for your time.
See you there.
So there you go. Why don't you come along on July the 19th and join me and many of my colleagues for our open day, find out more about what we can offer you in terms of master's degrees, both in audio post-production and composing for film and games and orchestrating and creative music production and sound design for video games and much else besides. If you've already passed that magic moment of July the 19th, then there will be a link to the open day underneath this. So if you want to find out more, why don't you Google Thinkspace courses, and get in touch and we can see what we can do for you. See you again very soon. Bye-bye.